Hello, hope you all have gone through the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript interview questions. Now we'll go to the main thing, ReactJS interview question, because no interview is complete without React. Maybe the interview will ask first HTML, CSS, and JavaScript interview questions, and then he will move to React. So what happens? Most of the time, if it's theoretical kind of interview, they will ask you some theoretical questions on React. And if it is like in a lot of startup, what happens? They'll give you a problem statement and they will ask you to do that problem statement in front of them in the next 2 hours. They will not always see, but they will like it will be quite good problem statement, and most probably some API call will be there. So how we're going to divide all this interview question now? First, we're going to look into React class-based interview questions. Next, we're going to look into React hook-based interview question. And last, we're going to look into those kind of interviews in which the interviewer give you something to build in 2 hours. So mostly in startups, because in big companies, if they give you something to build in 2 hours, it will be very complicated. In startups and all, as in my channel we target many startups, I will tell how in startups they will ask some question. It is not that difficult question. It's mainly if it is like a practical round, it's much more easier than a theoretical round. Theoretical round, they will ask you everything. Okay, so that is there, but React is a small library, so no need to worry. And how are you going to do those theoretical questions? I will give the explanation also behind them, although you don't have to explain that much, but you should know all those theoretical questions. So we will start like that. And yes, class based, still class based will be asked in your interview, definitely, because half of the world still works on the class based, because hook based only came in 2020 mid, which is not that much. So you should know class based, and class based is something in React which everybody struggles, but I teach that because of that, because in interviews it will be asked, although in YouTube you will not see much of class based nowadays. Okay, so let's get started, and let me also share my screen. Okay, actually what I have done, I've just created a this is something which I was teaching, and this sample React.js project is there, which I've done through npx create React app. Hope everyone knows. So let us see the what is the first question. So first question generally is related to the structure of the React. So there are a lot of things which is structure of the React. They can ask they can ask, what is the starting point of React? This is the starting point of React. So let me explain it through here. The starting point of React is actually this index.html file. Okay, let me make it a bit big, make it a bit smaller. Starting point is this index.html file, in which there is a div with ID of root is there. Actually, here only the whole of the React has been shown, div with ID of root. Okay, so this is the starting point of React, and you can explain a bit more about it. So let me go take you all through the whole of the how a React project is started, because the interviewer can ask you what is the starting point of React. The interviewer can ask you what is index.js. The interviewer can ask you what is the app.js. Anything they can ask. Okay, so let me take you all through the whole how a React app starts, so that you can understand. Okay, so you can ask and you can answer any of the three questions, what is the starting point of React, what is index.html, what is index.js, what is app.js. Actually, there are four questions. Okay, you can answer any of them. So as I've told, React app generally start with index.html. So this is the div with ID of root. How does it start? And for that, we have to start this React project. So I'll do Control J or Command J in a Mac, and then I will do npm start. Actually, I'm just built the project also, so I'm doing start. I will. So don't worry about what the project will show, because this is a completed project which was used in the training. So that was there. Let me make it here like this. And this much is okay. Okay. So as I've told, so how does the React project start? So this if you see at the end of this index.html is only rendered, but in the body head part it is okay. It is showing us learning React, but the body there is something known as div with ID of root. As I've told, it is very important. So when you go to the index.js, from here actually it starts. I've removed some of the things, but those are not required, strict thing that you can also remove it. But the thing is that you'll find a file like this. If you're seeing this in 2023, you will find a file like this. Some of the things like strict mode and those things I have removed it. Okay, so that is okay. So if you can see here, this const root is there. Okay, const root is there, and react dom dot create root. It is a React kind of a language. React dom dot create root, document dot get element by id root. So this is a familiar JavaScript term. Document dot get element by id root, and document dot get element by id root. What it does actually selects this thing id root, and then it put it in this variable with some React kind of language which you don't need to know much, and then root dot render the app. So root dot render app means take this root element and render the app in it. Render the app in it. App is our app.js. So if we start a new React project, app.js will contain a lot of React logos and all this. And all this is a old projects, so you'll not find this. But when you start a new React project, you'll find some logos and all this thing. So this is what. So right now I have some other components here, so it is rendering that. So that's how it gets rendered. If you also right click and inspect it, you can find, okay, where is my body? So see, div of id of root has been rendered. But inside this, the class app is there, which is again from here. And then we have a lot more code. Actually, this gets converted into a form. So that is how a ReactJS start, and that is a very important question in ReactJS. So let us go to the next questions now, and which is like what are the different kinds of components in React? So there are two kinds of components in React. One is a functional component, one is a class-based component. Functional components were also from the starting, and the class-based component were also from the starting. But you can say the interval like till 2020, class-based component were having the concept of state and lifecycle methods, which are very important things in React. Those were not there in functional component. But in 2020 mid, the concept of state and lifecycle method were introduced in functional components using hooks. Okay, and as I told hooks, we are going to learn next. First, let's understand all the questions of class based. Okay, so let me explain. As I've told, you might not have to write all these things wrong as I'm writing it, because I'm explaining also the answer. But maybe if the interview give you something like show me on a screen, then you can do it. Mostly it will not happen. Just the theoretical part they will ask. Okay, theoretical part, because they don't have that much time. But as you know, I will not like explain it also. So after JS, maybe I will remove this now. Okay, so actually everything is already created, and this I will do. Maybe I will. You don't have time to actually create everything right now. So the first thing is where is my component? Okay, it things and welcome. Okay, so as I've told, there are two kinds of component. One is a functional component. Actually, this is also a functional component. Functional component in React have the function keyword. Function keyword is there, and the other component is class-based component. And so this is a typical functional component in which we can use arrow function also. And function also is regard. And arrow function is always better to use a normal function, and I prefer to use arrow function. It is getting some props and all those things are also there. And this is a class-based function. This is a class-based function, and this class-based function is a bit different than the functional component, normal functional component. And if you want to learn more React, please go to our React crash course, and different courses are there on React, like 4 days React course in which we teach in a different way, and we do it in a boot camp also. We go through that. So this class-based component is different from this functional component, because there is something known as render in it. There is no render in this thing. There is something known as render in it. Okay, so there is something known as render in it. Okay, so in this class-based component, render is there. In this render, anyways, this props we're going to come back later on in this props. So this render function is there, and this render function renders the component. So render is something which is different in class-based. Okay, so it depends on the state, and it runs every time. So that render component. So this is there, and in a functional component we have a normal JavaScript function or a arrow function. And in the class-based component, we are also extending from component, which is the React thing, and we have a render function which like keeps on rendering again and again. You can tell that. Okay, so here there is one more question out there, and that question is like, I just came to know, is like what is the default export and what is the named export? Very important question. What is the default export and what is the named export? Okay, let's do this. So default export means, see like this, when I am using just the export keyword like this is something known as default export. And this is not a common way. This is like done in utility functions. And when we do something like this, we can have like thousands and millions of export also. Like if I want to show this grid or React grid, I just have to come here and do the grid and React grid. Okay, so both of them I can do it. So both of them I can show like this. Save it and it will be shown. So this is known as default export and default import. These curly brackets are there for the default import. Okay, so that is the default export and default import. So both of them are there. Okay, and but this is not the most common. The most common is like sorry, this is the named export and the named import, because we are naming it, and here in the curly bracket you can have more. So sorry for that. And default export means have the default keyword, and you can only have one default export in a component. This is also default export, this is also default export. So default export is like that, you can have only one. And let me show one more thing. Like greetings, if I do like this, greeting from, it will not show because I'm not showing the props. See, the way of import is also different. The curly brackets are not there in the default import. The curly brackets are not there. Okay, so this is about this thing. Now let us look into the next topic and all. So one more thing they can ask, like what is a JSX? JSX full form is JavaScript XML. uh, so what you're seeing here, React is a bit different. CSS files are like normal. Although there are a lot of other ways to use CSS, which you're going to see, but CSS file, like it's still normal, and we just do a import app.css like this. But if you see this file closely, this is known as JSX file. It's a weird kind of file. It has got JavaScript also and HTML also. JSX full form is JavaScript XML, but it is actually like a combination of JavaScript and HTML in React. Okay, that's why React, when React came in the first time, it got a lot of bad name, because you can combine both of those things, HTML and JavaScript, and they're not much different. But because of this JSX only, React is so easy also in comparison to DOM programming. So, oh, okay. So if you see this class name, what is this class name? And some differences are there from JavaScript. This class name is actually, it gets converted into class, because class is a keyword in JavaScript. So we cannot use the thing here like this. This is a HTML class we cannot use. So you use class name. Some more differences are there, but this is what, and this is what the Babel and all those things, Webpack does all those things. Okay. Uh, Generally, people don't ask too much about Babel and Webpack, but at the end of the React code gets converted into JavaScript code. That's why you're able to see it, because browser doesn't understand anything except HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So React code have to get converted into a JavaScript code. Anyways, okay. So that is the there. That is the thing which is there. Now the next thing is there, uh, which is there. You'll be asked about. Okay, let me now remove this thing. Next, very important question which will always be asked is, what are props? What are props? So the answer is, the props are way to pass data from one component to another. Pass data only. Pass data from one component to another. So let me show what is props. And you can explain it, like you can, like whatever I'm writing, you can like explain it to the interpret. You will be much more happier. So you can tell that, okay, there is a greeting component inside the app. You pass something like this and this. So there are like this greeting component is there, and I will have a name equal to, go a bit faster, Java. name equal to Golang, name equal to shift, and one of them I write like and it like this, right? Language like this, I like like this, I like. I will save it. I'll save it, and you'll see that it is showing like this. Why it is showing like this? See, it will come as something known as a props here. It will come as props here, and then you can show it. Although I'm also destructuring it here. Again, okay, let me not destructure it right now, but I will comment it out. Okay, and that is another question. Okay, so it will come like this. So I'll do a props dot name and props dot children. If I do a CLG and props, do inspect, you can see, okay, it is showing like this. Okay, object, it is okay. Okay, so it is like it comes whenever we pass something like this name is not a keyword, you can use anything else. So here it will come as a like whatever it is the name, it will come, it will become an object. Props is an object, it will become an object, it will become an object and props dot name, and this is how you show something in React. So props dot name will be that thing what is in past, and props are children is whatever you passed inside it. This is not a common way to pass, but this is also very important, because again, like these are the two props. Another interview question is what is a children prop. So this is children prop. Whenever we expand it in React, most of the time you have a self-ending component, but you can have components like this also, components like this also. So this is a children prop. Whatever you pass inside it, it will become like children props dot children. Okay, so that is there, and that is there. And now there is one more question here. Why I have something like this here? Okay, this something like this here is known as fragments. Okay, so another question is what is a React fragment? See, React fragment is something like you can explain that in React every component should start with the same tag and end with the same tag. Suppose like this, I remove this fragment. Okay, this and this. You see, it is showing me an error and it will also give me an error. Okay, adjacent J6 element must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. Did you want to use a J6 fragment? Yes, but why do we use a J6 fragment? Why not like, let me use a div first. Okay, div first, and let me show why you use J6 fragment. And so earlier, what we used to do when we used to get some error like this, we used to add a div to it. Add a div to it like this. In this component also, you can see a div. So I will add a div, cut it, save it, and if I come here, I will close it. If I come here, I will see like inspect. I can see like a div is added every time. Actually, it used to break a lot of styles. It used to break a lot of styles. So that's why instead of this, we React used to start giving this empty thing. See, the moment I save it, you'll see that nothing will come here. Like no div will be shown. No div will be shown here. Okay, so that is there. Okay, so that is how it is there. Like these are known as a fragment. This React need everything to start with one thing and end with one thing, and end with the same tag. But we can use this kind of empty tag, which means nothing to the browser, but for React it is something. Okay, nothing to the browser. Okay, so the other thing is that how do we use like this props again here? So again, when we want to use a props in a classless component, it is also very easy. Like I will use, but we have to use the infamous this keyword here, this dot props dot name, this dot props dot children. So like this we can use, and let me do one thing. Let me copy this thing and do a jar here. And instead of this, I will do a welcome. Okay, let's have the same thing. Welcome, welcome, Java first. Second. Class-based component seems very complicated, but the way to use it is very easy, just like a normal thing. You don't have to create any class-based object for that. Okay, so this is how the props are used. Only the thing is difference is that this dot props have to use, and here it was coming in the parameters. But in class-based you cannot have parameters, so it is like that. Okay, so this was another question. Now the like one more thing if we have come here, let us see that thing also, which is what is destructuring in React, or another things. Another question is there. What are the two ways to destructure in a functional component, and one way to destructure in a class-based component? Okay, so we'll see those things. So these are the two questions. Either the interviewer can ask what is destructuring, or the interviewer can ask what are the two ways to destructure in a functional component, and what is the one way to destructure in a class-based component. So let us see both of the questions. So I will come here, and what I'm going to do here, this is a destructuring. The most common way is to do this thing in a functional component. There are two ways. Instead of this props, what I'm going to do, so this is object destruction. If you don't know, this is ESX concept. Please go through, revise the ESX concept. So props dot name and props dot children. Same. Nothing will happen. It will come like the same. React has the auto reload and all, it will come. So this is one way. The other way is to keep this as props only, and I have this code, and I saving. Now this is a proper object destructuring we are doing. And in a functional component, what happens, there is no a class component, there is no arguments, no parameters. So what we can do, I can directly do it inside the render like this. And in class based, it's much more useful, because I'm getting rid of two words here. So in bigger project, it is not that two times we're going to do, we're going to do this 100 times. So it is very easy. Okay, 100 times if you're going to do, then what? So like this. Okay, so name and children. Okay, so this is the another thing. Okay, so the destructuring. Okay, so now there can be some questions regarding the state. Regarding the state, the most fearful thing in React. Okay, so the state. So first question, as simple as that, what is the state, and is the state local or global? So a state is actually objects in a class based component. Please don't go towards, like, if the interviewer is asking for state, please tell in a class based component, don't go towards the hooks and use state and all. Those you can tell, but it is okay. Okay, so that is there. So state, what is a state? State is a object which is local to the component, which can be changed depending upon some user interactions. Okay, state is like an object, and which is local to the component. It is the most powerful concept in React, state. Because of that, it is so powerful and so easy than to use it with DOM programming. Okay, once you get the feel of React, you will find that thing. Okay, so this state, uh, what we are going to do, like, let me remove this thing, and counter is right. So okay, maybe I will create a new component. That is way too complicated. So .js I'll do. Okay. And I will use the famous shortcut of, which is installed through, let me show it also, like this extension, it is installed. So I'll use this thing. Okay, so I'll come here and do a RCE. Oh, why I'm doing RCE here? RCE, and this H1 count is so state is always given inside constructor. So constructor also a shortcut is there known as rconst the constructor. Okay. So here it is like count is 0. See, this is the state. This dot state is a object which is a count of 0. This dot state is also always an object. So this constructor is there which have something known as super prof. This is again something which you should know, like because it comes from the component, nothing related to a state, but constructor loads only the initial time. So that's why we always give the state in the constructor. Class-based concept, the constructor always loads only one time. This dot state is there. It's a, like we use again the this keyword because that's why we are able to access it a lot of time. So this dot state is a keyword and it's an object, and this can be anything. So key value pair, state is a key value pair. So count. Now I want to show this state. So I can do it by this dot state dot count. Show it, and like this I can show it. And now I will show the count like this, and it will be shown. Okay. So count of 0 is being shown. So this is how the state is being shown. So I wanted to access this 0. So this is how we access something from a object. This dot state dot count is 0. So this is how we access it. Okay. So that is there. And now the another question which interviewer can ask is, I will actually open this counter also, which is like, I'm not going to explain everything, but one other question is that how do we update the state, or what is set state? And the answer is, we update the state through this dot set state. The answer is that, and you can explain that this dot set state, and uh, there is no other way to update the state. Okay. So like, if I can like let us update the state on the click of a button. So button, like increment, and on click, and equal to this dot increment count I'll have, and then, so this is the function. So you'll come here and do the increment, and like this, you will do a this dot set state. This dot set state is a function which, like, I have to which takes an argument of an object like this. This object, it will take the argument, and I have to update this count. So count will take this count variable, and then this dot state dot count plus 1. This dot state dot count plus 1. I'll save it, and the button is there, and I will inspect console, click. There is some error. Okay, there is some error. It is related to some another interview question also. This error we are getting, it's not because I have written the wrong code. This is for something else. Okay, so this again another interview question, and I take a lot of ReactJS interview now also, because I take mock interviews for a lot of startups where I teach, and corporates, and my students also, I take a lot of mocks. So this, like this only. So one of the another interview question is like, this keyword have an issue in React because of JavaScript. Okay, the interview will not tell this keyword have an issue in React.js, and how to solve it. So actually there are 4 ways, but you can tell the interviewer the most common, this keyword have an issue in JavaScript because it doesn't bind well, and that JavaScript issue comes in React also. So the best way to bind this keyword in JavaScript and in React is through the arrow functions. So the best way to solve this issue is to make this not a normal function, make this a arrow function like this. See, state is incrementing, but how does the state increments? This is also like one more interview question is like this, which I asked. Okay, so people say that this dot set state can be used to change the state. Okay, So what I ask, what the interviewer can ask. Okay, so why cannot I change the state with something like this, like mm, this dot state, like so the interview will tell, why cannot I change the state like this dot state dot count equal to this dot state dot count plus one. Why cannot I change like this? Okay, so cannot change like this. Okay, I will also show one more thing. CLG. So the theoretical answer is that, let me first show that whether we can change it like this or not. Save it. See, this will increase, but this will not increase. This will not increase. This will not increase. This will not increase. Why this will not increase? So most probably you are not going to show this example. The theoretical answer is like the this dot set state not only changes the state, but it also rerun this render. It like it is sort of like a refreshing. It's running this again. So the moment it runs this renders again, I can see the new state. So that is the answer. So that's why we cannot directly do it like this. We have to do it like with this way only. Okay. No, let me tell the next question also will add that. Okay. So the moment I click here, it will change the state also, and it will come back here and do the render. So that's the thing, do the render. But if you closely look here, like it is 6, it is 5, it is 6, it is 5. The interview I'm just showing, but the next question of the interviewer generally is like, okay, so it can we pass some other argument in this dot set state? Again, listen, can we pass some other argument in this dot set state? And the answer is yes. And in some special cases, it is required, and you can give this example also. So the special cases like this, see if you're seeing this, like now let me tell the explanation why it is required sometimes. So it is 76. See, this dot set state is actually very fast. So what is happening here? The moment is it is doing this dot set state, it is coming to the render, and showing me the latest state. Then it is going here, and then it is showing this line number, like whatever. I will remove this thing. Okay, line number like this. Okay, it will showing like this. And number 16 and all, it is showing like this. Okay, so in certain cases, what we want. So this is not only for this case. In certain cases, what we want, before this dot set set goes to the render, I want to run something, and this you will get in production project a lot. But in this case, what I'll simply do, I'll cut it and like yes. And your answer to the interviewer is yes, we can pass a function as a second argument. And see, I'm directly calling a function here. You can pass a function as a second argument. And this I've seen in production a lot. Like people want to do some calculation before it even reaches to render. So here what will happen, these are set to change it. Then it will run this function, which is calling here through arrow function, and show the state, and then it will go to the render. So now I'll save it. Now I'll cut it, and now I'll increase it. See it? Okay. So the next interview question with your state is like, what is the previous state or previous state? What is the previous state? Okay, so let us understand what is the previous state. And previous, the theoretical answer is previous state is something. In React there is a previous state which keeps hold of the previous state, and it is required in certain special cases. And you can like explain the answer which I'm showing right now in your own words. Okay, so let is like that. So let us see like a button of like increment type, and on click equal to this dot increment 5. Increment 5, come here. Increment 5 equal to like this. And like this I'll do here this dot increment count call this 5 times and save it. Okay. See, this is all working fine. This is all working fine. The moment I do increment 5, see, if you can see, it is only increasing it by one time, and in the console, you can see that 5 is printing, means it actually ran 5 times. It actually ran 5 times. But why this thing is happening? So we have to tell our previous state, we have to understand why this is happening, this weird kind of behavior is happening. So this weird kind of behavior is happening in React, because what happens, React was created for Facebook, and Facebook, we all know, it's the biggest web app on the planet with 3 billions user there, half of the world population is there, and all the big things are made with React is very fast, and it was created like that. So what happens, React is very fast, but if we run the render a lot of time, React can become slow, especially in the bigger app. So in bigger app like Facebook level app, okay, so what happens, like, not Facebook level app, but maybe 10 lakh lines of code, or 100,000, something like that. Okay, so what is there? So this increment 5, so increment 5 is running this increment count, then it is going here, and then the set state is changing. So React doesn't want the set state to happen at a very fast interval, 1 2 3 4 5, within nanosecond 3 times this has been done. Okay, so React thinks there is a bug if we are changing the state at a such a fast way, and so it tried to optimize things and change the state only once. Okay, so that is the React way. If it thinks that the state has been changed at a very fast rate, it will not allow you to do that thing. It will change the state only once to optimize things. But if you know, okay, this is not an error, then what we do? Okay, then we use a different way. I will remove this thing, or else it will get complicated. And then we use the concept of previous. The simple concept of previous state is that it saves the previous state. So like suppose this dot state, like state is 6 right now, so previously the state was 5, that is known as previous state. And the format is actually a bit different for previous state. What we do here, like here I'll do a prev state, then arrow function, inside this I will pass the thing, and then count is prev state dot count plus 1, previous state dot count plus previous state. So it's a bit different code, and sometime when you get this error, you can use it in like all the places. Okay, so anyways, this is not there. So like this is increasing, and see, this is also increasing. Fine. So both of those things are increasing. Fine. So these are some of the questions with the state.